Rangers lose Game 5 to the Carolina Hurricanes by a score of 3-1. And Carolina was absolutely the better team. This was, for me, reminiscent to Game 2. But this was probably even worse. It's either way, there were similarities, but Carolina was simply the better team. And the home road difference is drastic. Drastic for Carolina and the Rangers, where the games in Carolina's clearly the better team. But it brings me back to Game 1. Again, that was the game that the Rangers needed to win. And you knew when they lost it just how that loss hurt me more than two. That's just the type of fan I am, where the ones where you kind of lose it fair and square and you were the worst team, like I can live with those. It's the Game 1 loss that really stings, where the Rangers played a very good first two periods and they just couldn't hold the lead. They could not hold the lead. Kakko, can't score with a wide open net. And then, Aho ties up with 2.5 minutes left. That was the formula, was to basically steal Game 1 and then win your home games. And as it turns out, that could have been achieved. So now the Rangers, face a very daunting task after this really, really bad loss to Carolina. Can they win Game 6? Absolutely. I mean, I'd even go as far as to say I think that they probably will win Game 6. It won't be easy, but I think that they'll find a way to get it done. But how are they going to win Game 7 at Carolina? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And no shame, wherever this lands, no shame in terms of how the Rangers have done. I mean, I will admit, if they lose Game 6, that will be a bit disappointing. But they lose it in 7 in Carolina. Look, that's as far as the Rangers were going to go. And the Rangers have been at their best when their backs have been completely against the wall. It shouldn't have to get to that point. Like, it's not like, maybe don't get there. But it is true. The Rangers, they have this chip on their shoulder when they're counted out, when, people are kind of down on them, is when they do rise to the occasion. So this series is not over. But I got to say, I don't feel too good about things. And Carolina at home is just a juggernaut. They're undefeated at home, and for good reason. Just the defensive structure is very tough to break through. And the Rangers just didn't have it. I mean, really, the stall line completely neutralizes the Zibanejad line. And look, Zibanejad's doing what he can. For me, Chris Kreider, what are you doing? And I'm sure the statistics for Kreider in the playoffs are not all that bad. I think he might have. I think he has 6 playoff goals. He has 6 playoff, in 12 games, which is not bad whatsoever. But still, just the eye test tells me he hasn't been good enough. Frank Vetrano, another guy. Frank Vetrano, what does he have? Probably, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points in 12 games. Not bad. But Vetrano, this is not, certainly not a first-time player. And Vetrano took a penalty tonight that proved to be very costly. So, that line got completely shut down, and then the Panarin-Strome combination, it's just not going to do anything. And really for me, Panarin is really where the blame lies for sure, because at least with Strome, we kind of know what he is. And it's funny, he did score a goal that was eventually called back due to offside. The Rangers, it was the right call, but the Rangers' luck when it comes to reviews is awful. It never goes their way, however you look at it. But, Panarin, it's been bad. It's been really bad. And so it's hard to see the Rangers finding a way. With that all being said, look, they were in this game basically the whole way up until the point where Svechnikov scored with 7 minutes left. So as bad as it's been, Game 2, they lost. There was an empty goal with a second left. They've been in these games. So that's, I guess, the good news, is that as bad as it's been, they've hung in there. But look, it's got to be one game at a time. And they were down 3-1 against Pittsburgh, but I just think the Game 7 at Carolina for me is where I'm just having a really hard time seeing the Rangers winning that game. I'll say it again, not impossible. 100% not impossible. Look, Igor Shesterkin could play a great game, but it's so beyond that, because Igor, I think, has played excellent in this Carolina series, and the Rangers have lost 3 games. to no fault of his own. So, if you can't score, you can't score. I mean, the Rangers 17 shots on goal in this game, which tied a season low for them. Just unacceptable in a game 5, a 2-2 series game 5 to have that output. You just cannot have that. You cannot have that. So, the Rangers, it was the same lineup for them. And the Rangers had a couple of power plays in the first. At 11:05, Svechnikov boards Tyler Mott. But what happens? A shorthanded goal for Carolina again. You just can't have this. After Carolina scored a shorthanded goal in game 2, Brendan Smith, when they scored tonight, I'm thinking, really decline the power play on the road. Just absolutely decline it. So it was a Vincent Trocheck goal, his 4th goal of the playoffs, assisted by Jordan Staal. It was a bit of a 2-on-1 at 12:57 of the first. And Trouba just makes a bad turnover. Just sloppy. It was easy for him to turn that puck over. Like, just the way he was coming in, it's like, what did you think? You were going to hold on to the puck? It was a bit lazy. I mean, I'm trying to think of the correct word. It was just like completely reckless by Jacob Trouba. I don't know what he was thinking. Again, for me, there's been frustrations with Jacob Trouba. Not to underestimate, again, the physicality, the minutes that he's eaten. Look, like, if he was out, that would make them worse. 100%. But I've been frustrated with Jacob Trouba. I just have been. So a really bad turn by Trouba. It kind of leaves Miller alone on a 2-on-1, and they score. And like, that's just, when that happens right there, that's a bad sign. However, the Rangers would get a power play again. Ian Cole cross-checks Jacob Trouba at the 17-minute mark, and off the face-off win, and that's why face-offs are important, it is Mika Zibanejad with the 6th goal of the playoffs, assisted by Panarin and Fox. So, all right, they tied up at 1. So this is good. So, you kind of make up for that the short-ended goal blunder with a power play goal. All right, 1-1. In a period where the Rangers, I didn't think, played all that well, but to me, for the Rangers, it got progressively worse. So really, this first period was probably better than I'd say it was better than the second and third, even though they only had 5 shots on goal in the first period. But it's tied up at 1. And that's where in the second period, the Reinstrom no goal happened. So as a fan, it hurts because, there's a moment in time there where you think the Rangers are 2-1. You're not really thinking, sometimes on goal interference plays, like, it's a little bit of a tempered celebration because, like, you see it. With this, it wasn't exactly, I hadn't even thought of it until they showed the replay, and it was the correct call. It wasn't so cut and dry in terms of, clearly Kopp was still, on the offensive blue line when Strome touches the puck, but there are scenarios in which that's legal. But I think what they determined was that the Rangers were the one that caused the puck to be in the Carolina zone. Like, if Carolina had, let's say, turned it over and been in their zone, then I think it would have been legal for Kopp to still be in the offensive zone. So they determined it, and apparently it was the right call. But that just hurts mentally, where here it is. All right, like, Reinstrom, who, hasn't scored, I think, since game 2 against the Penguins, gets the goal, and it's wiped off the board. And really from there, it felt like it went completely downhill. Frank Vatrano takes, for me, just a weak hooking penalty at 9:25. Vatrano, who is not that good defensively. I'm not sure what Ranger fans thought. Maybe some were upset by the call. I don't know why he's doing that. And what does it lead to? A power play goal by Teuvo Teravainen, his 4th goal of the playoffs from Jarvis, and Tony DeAngelo finally gets on the score sheet. And it gives the Hurricanes a 2-1 lead. And this is Tyler Mott loses the face-off. It was Mott and Rooney that I believe were the forwards that were on there, and Teravainen scores. So you got to stay out of the box. And Carolina had not scored a power play goal in a while, but you still have to stay out of the box because it's crazy. As much as Carolina has sort of, in my mind, had the better of the play at Carolina, it's not like they've had a chock full of 5-on-5 goals. So if you can just stay out of the box, you can find a way to grind it out. You could. But anyway, it's 2-1 Carolina, and it could have been worse than that. For me, it could have been way, way worse than that. But it's 2-1 Carolina going into the third. And then Keandre Miller takes a high-sticking penalty at 3:41. The Rangers do kill it off, but the Rangers did not get many chances. I never felt like they were going to come back. Similar to Game 2 when they were down by 1, you just never got the sense that they were. And then it would really be done when at 13:01, Andrei Svechnikov scores his fourth goal of the playoffs, assisted by Natchez and Pesce. And this is a play where the puck goes past Adam Fox. Fox is too slow to recover, and Svechnikov gets the breakaway goal. So the one critique I'll have on Shesterkin, which isn't fair, is because he was so good on breakaways, making those saves, in the playoffs, it hasn't quite been there, where on breakaways, he's getting beat. And this was 5-hole. So, look, Igor was far from the problem. Even if this goal doesn't happen, the Rangers still lose this game. They weren't going to win anyway, so it's not going to affect the outcome, but I would like Igor to tighten up just a little bit more on these breakaways because we know what he's capable of. He's very good at that. So, the Rangers don't get much going at all. I should say, to start the third period, the Rangers, Gallant did juggle the lines. He went back to the lines basically that started Game 3. Where Heedle's back with Zibanejad on the wing, Lafreniere with Strome and Panarin. The only difference was Mock continued to be in the top 9 over Kakko. And I don't know. I think with Game 6, stick with what you got going on. I think you can do that. But at Game 7, you got to have adjustments. I don't know what it would be. But if there is a Game 7 in Carolina, you have to have the adjustments. I'm not saying make drastic changes, but you can't just expect to do the same thing and it work. It's just not gonna happen. So Carolina, they are very, very good at home. All year long they were, and so that's the issue here. But look, one could look at it as this: you win Game 6 at home, and theoretically, there's that saying anything can happen in Game 7. I don't necessarily subscribe to that theory. I think Carolina is the definite favorite, and there's no shame in that. There is no shame in that. I think for the Rangers, it's been a really great season. And beating Carolina would just be absolutely the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, so to speak. But the Rangers, we're going to see the fight. We're going to see the pushback. But why wasn't it there tonight? Where was that tonight? Because to me, Game 5 would have been more winnable than Game 7. Game 7 may ultimately end up being a better Ranger game. I mean, it almost has to be. This was a joke. But I think that it's just hard to see them getting the W in that situation, but we're looking ahead too far. Game 6, Madison Square Garden, that's where the attention goes to now, and they really need to tighten things up and just show more jump, show more energy. The Rangers look slow, and so you got to get back to what you saw in Game 4. Game 4, I thought, was one of the Rangers' more complete games. So momentum really, it doesn't carry over from game to game. It truly does not. One game does not lead over to the next in terms of how it's played. So I can see the Rangers coming out in Game 6 and playing a good game. It's well within their reach. And then you hope for Game 7. So the Rangers now down 3-2. A very disappointing effort against the Hurricanes. Carolina absolutely deserved the win. They were the better team. And, like I said, Game 1, that's the one I think that I'm going to look back on and say, yep, that was the shot right there. And it slipped away right in that moment. But, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe some other Rangers can continue sort of their amazing heroics in elimination games and just their sort of ability to just not go down. When it looks like it might be over, they just continue to push. So I wouldn't bet against this Ranger team. I wouldn't bet on them. But I wouldn't bet against them either. So now it heads back to Madison Square Garden with the Rangers trailing the series 3-2 and on the brink of elimination.